Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you very much, man. Appreciate it. Very happy to be here.
Yeah, looking forward to this one. We've been talking about doing this for quite a while.
It's been a minute. I feel like it's been like 6 months in the making, kind of thing. If not longer for that.
Yeah, because you were one of the first people. Because you and I were talking about your business. When I started the podcast, and we debated, and you were in between your sessions or your groupings of that, so we kept saying, oh well, let's start it here and start there. So yeah, it does feel like we've been like talking about this for like a year.
And what a better time to do it. You know, January, everyone's getting back into the swing of things when it comes to new year, new me, all that stuff. I think it's a good time.
Yeah, I think it's an excellent time. I mean, other than the poor sorry guys that normally go to the gym every day and all these people you're going to send to the gym and stuff here soon.
Yeah, those guys are screwed, but they're not paying me, so, you know, they'll survive.
Right on. Well, Alex, you have a company called Whiskey Weight Loss, and we're going to dive into that, but let's tell people a little bit about Alex Shaw first.
Cool. All right. So
I'm sure they haven't noticed your really cool accent, and I'm sure all the women on here are going to start chiming in here in a minute. I'm waiting for that one here.
So I am from England. I've picked up enough bad American language habits to sometimes sound like I'm from Australia, but with enough alcohol in me, I'll revert to full Brit. But I am from England. I'm from rural England. I grew up in a village of like 700 people. So real kind of small town English countryside, like parents' house was opposite a turkey farm. So it was, it was really rural. It was kind of cool to grow up. The difference between, you know, like Texas and England is that I was 20 minutes away from a city the size of Frisco. Whereas if you were living in Texas and you lived in a town of 700, you know, you're probably 3 miles away from the nearest Walmart. So that was fun. But yeah, grew up in England, went to elementary school in England, high school in England, and then when I got to college, that was when my first kind of like tiptoe across the Atlantic happened. So I was hanging out on campus one day at the University of Birmingham in England, not Alabama, and I saw a campus rep for a company called CCUSA, and this was Camp Counseling USA. So I basically became a camp counselor for a summer. My options were take a crappy bar job in my hometown and try and make enough money, or go be a camp counselor in America where I'd never been before and do that for a summer and then come back and try and make some money while I was doing it. And that was my first venture into the States. It was a camp in Western Massachusetts, Pittsfield, and it was an experience. I'll tell you that. As a rural English kid that I didn't grow up dirt poor, but I was like lower middle class at best. And these kids were like, they had parents in the 1%. So like one of the kids I was, you know, the adopted parent for the summer for, his dad was the producer for J-Lo. Like that was the level of wealth that I had just stepped into, and my eyes were open to be like, I'm sorry, like, what
just happened?
Yeah, and I loved it. I did that for 5 summers. So throughout the entirety of my undergrad and at least half of my grad school degree, it was just every year come back to the same camp. And for 4 of those summers, had the same kids. It was an absolute blast. But while I was there, I kind of moved into various positions into the camp, eventually ending up as the fitness director. So I got to run my own program as a 20-something-year-old, which was awesome. And then, you know, that was in Massachusetts, and we're in Texas. So my transition over to Texas basically came as a study abroad year. In between my penultimate and final year of college in England, I decided to do a study abroad year, ended up at the University of North Texas. And then I met my wife, which is a whole nother story. And then eventually moved here, did grad school at UNT, and, you know, then married in for the green card. So, that's like 7 years of my life condensed into about 2 minutes.
Man, you hammered through that so efficiently. You would think you're like a professional podcaster here. Like you...
Dude, I've told that story a few times.
I'll
tell you that much. But if you don't mind, I'll jump into the story of how I met my wife. Because I would just finished up summer in Western Massachusetts.
Okay.
Left summer camp, got on a plane, came to Texas. It was like middle of summer. Like, it was...
You left 80, balmy, humid. and got here to 110.
Dude,
hotter than hell.
I was in sweatpants when I walked off the plane. Like, the levels of mistakes that I had made were pretty big. So I get off the plane, I get my super shuttle, I come over to the dorms. Like, I have a suitcase full of clothes. I don't have jack shit else. I walk up to the front desk of the dorms. I'm like, hey, do you guys have, like, pillows or something? And they look at me as if I just asked them, like, the most stupid question on earth. Yeah. And they were like, no, you're supposed to bring that yourself, dude. Like, didn't you get the memo? Obviously not. So I go to bed that night. I had 2 towels with me. So one towel was folded into a pillow. One towel was my comforter for the night. Bare mattress, which in hindsight was probably a health hazard, right? You think dorm room mattresses, but yeah, I don't want to think about that. But
you think it was worse than a hostel?
Yes, honestly, I think it was worse than a hostel.
Whew.
Yeah, because at least hostels, they changed the bed sheets.
That's true.
You don't know who had that room before me. And anyway, so go to bed, wake up, walk downstairs, meet my wife. And she'd also had a terrible night's sleep. It was love at first sight. Like, we both looked like shit. And that was it. I had come to Texas with the full intention of utilizing my accent to have fun as a, 20-something British dude might have ambitions of in, Southern America.
And you hit a home run on
hit a home run on day one. So yeah, that was a crazy story as well.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So did your workout and exercise and love for physical training and personal training, did that start before all these camps? I mean, were you really involved in sports and stuff? Were you a gym rat? Where did that start out, and where did you decide, hey, I want to do this for a career?
Great question. So I was a fat kid. Truthfully, and I feel like this is the story of a lot of personal trainers. Like, we all have our own kind of backstory, but I was an overweight kid, not particularly athletic, still not particularly athletic, but just like overweight, didn't particularly like how I looked as a kid, terribly, like I was an awkward teenager, and then you throw fat on top of that, and it's like I had no chance with girls at all. So I hit about 15, I think, around that age, and me and my dad decided we were going to go join a gym. We joined the local gym. We got a walkthrough on the workouts. The nice guy at the front desk gave us a plan, which we both completely ignored. And me and my dad, we worked out together for, a couple months. He quit, as, people do, but I just fell in love with it, man. It was really cool to be able to take control of something that I was previously unhappy about.
Yeah.
And also something you'll come to learn about me, like, I love learning shit. Like, all topics, but specifically this one. And I just started consuming content, information, all of that stuff. So I started with, like, Men's Health magazine, as a lot of, like, young guys do who want to be shredded. Be like, I'll go read the magazine with the shredded dude on it. Yeah. And then after a while, I realized that maybe Men's Health isn't the pinnacle of fitness information. Shocker for any of you guys out there that think that. I'm sorry to burst your bubble. But then I transitioned to something cool.
You probably just got us dropped off.
Yeah, dude, like half your listeners were like, this guy sucks. This guy sucks. But then transitioned to, like, at that age, it was the golden era of, like, forums. So bodybuilding.com, Testosterone Nation, all of this stuff where they put up blog posts, there was articles, just absorbed that. And at that age, I honestly thought I wanted to be a medical doctor.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like, kind of like it's changing lanes there. You were thinking about going 100%. Complete medical field.
Yeah. I did internships in medical fields. Like, we did this week-long rotation.
I do not have the stomach for that. There's no way in hell I could even remotely consider that. That's actually what got me out of the military, pretty much.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Cool. So
I'll tell you that one in a little while.
Yeah. So I thought I wanted to be this doctor, and then I got really into fitness, and I was like, wouldn't it be cool if we could prevent sickness as opposed to just treat it? And I was like, well, how about I help people, do more of that stuff? So, and then throughout my kind of journey, I was like, well, let's go to school for this. Let's go do exercise science undergrad. Let's just dive into that, and I'll figure out the career path later. I was just really interested about it, and I wanted to learn more, and take on as much as I could. And I figured it would pay off somewhere down the road. So did exercise science, then did the camp stuff, got into a fitness director position so that I had my own little program that I could kind of work on over time. And that was really fun. And then I did that study abroad year at UNT, University of North Texas. And at that point, I got really into the performance side of stuff. I was like, let's jump into something where I can work with athletes and we can get strong and we can get fast. And I had a wonderful opportunity at UNT to be a strength and conditioning intern. And that's when I decided I really didn't want to work with athletes. Because, English athlete culture and American athlete culture are a little bit different, but there's enough parallels to where I think this generalizes. And working with athletes isn't what it's cracked up to be.
The great football debate, right?
Right, and it's just, you're a cog in a machine. The hours suck. The pay is terrible. I was an unpaid intern starting at 6 and finishing at 6. And I was doing that like 3 days a week. There were full-grown men with children doing that 6 till 6, 5 days a week, and not being paid for it.
Oh, that's terrible.
And then one of those guys, while I was there, he got a job. He got his foot in the door. He was an assistant strength coach at a high school. The dude made $26,000 a year.
Working his life away.
You would love to think that doing these unpaid internships, you'd be able to get something cool at the end of it. And it's like, no, you're basically working minimum wage. So that was rough. That's when I realized I didn't want to work with athletes. And at that point in time, I got incredibly lucky. University of North Texas signed a marketing deal with the Dallas Cowboys. So I was lucky enough to get a personal training internship at the Cowboys gym at the Star in Frisco, not far away from us here. And I was able to basically work in personal fitness, and that's when my whole personal trainer journey kind of started, which was really cool. I got exposed to people who really knew their stuff. So these were trainers who had been in the industry a long time. They were really at like the peak of the profession, and I was just able to work through that. So 2-3 years was when I was doing that. Kind of broke a lot of productivity records while I was there. I think that's partly because I didn't have an off button. It was on and off, and that actually caused a bunch of conflict in my relationship, which we can talk about later. But it was just go, go, go. There was one day where I did 12 hours of personal training in a row, which if we have any personal trainers listening, they'll understand that is brutal. Because you can't turn off when you're personal training.
Because you're doing a lot yourself too when you're trying to teach and show and help.
Correct.
It's like you got 12 half workouts, so you got like 6 full workouts in a day, essentially. And I'll bet that's closer to like 9 or 10 full workouts because I know you, and like you said, you don't really turn it off. Like you are one of the most charismatic, energetic guys that just keeps going all the time.
I appreciate that, and yeah, it's physical like exhaustion is totally part of it. I don't want to downplay that. It's the mental part of it.
Yeah.
And the best way I can think of it, like, you run this podcast and it's awesome. We're switched on while we're doing this. You don't have a moment of downtime.
You don't want those anyway.
You don't want those.
Yeah.
And it's the same in personal training. You are going the whole time because someone else is relying on you for their energy.
Yeah.
So if you don't bring it, then they aren't having a good workout. They are having a good time, and they are paying enough money to expect that level of service.
Your dedicated attention.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They are paying me for me to make them the center of my world for an hour. And that's really the value exchange when it comes to personal training. Absolutely, part of it is losing weight, part of it is getting stronger. But when it comes to in-person personal training, the thing that keeps people coming back is like you making them feel special for an hour. And that's something that probably doesn't get talked about much in mainstream fitness.
I can see that, and I mean I have my own opinions of that, and I mean I'll share that, and we can talk about that
Absolutely.
more. I had a little bit different journey than you, so I was the kid that shot up to 6 foot tall, and I couldn't break 120 pounds until I was in my early 20s. And I'm talking, I hired trainers because I played baseball year round pretty much growing up, got into football for a little bit until I moved to Texas and realized high school football in Texas is like college football anywhere else. And like I said, my parents hired me trainers, coaches, position coaches, hitting coaches, all these different things. But like I worked out with trainers and I consumed tens of thousands of calories in a day trying to just put on some weight. Because I mean, I was fast, I was ripped, I was super lean, but I could not put on any size. Like, I mean, I got my freshman year in football in Connecticut, I got mono and then pneumonia back to back. And at the time, I was playing safety, and I was probably, I'm going to say like 112 pounds going into it. By the time I got done being sick, I was literally like 98 pounds, soaking wet.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget this. This guy ran up the middle, busted through the linebackers. I hit him around mid-waist, wrapped, locked my arms. He drugged me like a flag behind him for like, I don't know, 30, 40 yards before somebody else was able to come finish him off.
How old were you again?
I was 15. I was a freshman in high school.
98 pounds.
Yeah, man.
Damn.
And this dude drugged me like, dude, they put it on the end of the year video. I mean, I guarantee we watched this like 5 times at the football banquet, and it's just me flapping behind this beast of a running back that just drugged me. So, yeah, my experience was, for the longest time, was always trying to put on size.
Got it.
That's a whole different mentality. And now that I'm in my early 40s, putting on size is not a problem. Trying to get back down and get to that like 185 mark, which I'm starting to think is just really totally unrealistic. But, you know, that's a whole different mentality. And I mean, I've worked with trainers that were professional bodybuilders, like IBF pros. I've worked with strength and conditioning coaches, all these different things. Actually, when you and I first started talking, and I'll say this, and we're going to go down this road later on too, but I elected not to try your program. And I went and tried another very popular program here in the Metroplex and worked very well for the first few weeks. And I dropped some weight really fast. But the biggest part was I still wasn't getting back in the gym. I wasn't putting in, and even the walking they wanted me to do, I wasn't fully committing to 45 minutes a day of just getting out and walking. So I went through the peaks and valleys of that, and I can see the benefits and the pluses and minuses of all these programs. But I think the biggest thing is because prior to COVID, and I'm sure a lot of people struggle with this, prior to COVID, 2 years prior to COVID, I was coming up on my 40th birthday. And it was like, oh man, I'm at 210. Like, this can't happen. I got to drop that. I got to get down. So I went, hired a trainer, got back into my gym, ended up becoming really good friends with this guy. And we were 5 a.m. guys.
Ooh,
I mean, to the point that like he ended up just starting to train with me, and we used to work together, and he'd come in before shifts we were out, because it's hard to find somebody that will consistently show up 6 days a week at 5 a.m. And work out. But for me, 5 a.m. is when it works best, because if I get there and I establish that routine, there's no excuses at 5 a.m. other than you didn't get your ass out of bed.
100%.
And you didn't want to be there for whatever reason, or you stayed out too late, or you partied too much. There's no work doesn't call you at 5 a.m. very rarely, even in mine, not even emergency calls. The emergencies don't happen at 5 a.m. They happen late at night. So they're very, excuse me, very few excuses for not getting to the gym at 5 a.m. You get it out, set your whole day, and you rock and roll. Then I did this for 2 years straight. Got in some of the best shape in my later years that I had been in. And then COVID happens. And then I paused my membership for like a year. Then when it's now really cool to go back and you can, I turn it back on. And then I've spent this whole last year paying for my membership and not going to the gym. So 2023 is a goal and an objective to get back into that routine, for me at least. But I think there's a lot of value in having somebody that's worked with all those different types, because you can go from not being the person that can't put on weight to the person that can't take it off.
Yep.
And that's a switch. And then you get other guys that they were super big and then they can get in better shape, but yet then they still have trouble cutting up and getting to what their ideal image is. And I think that's a big thing for trainers is, and I've had good trainers that took me in one direction and I was happy, but I didn't achieve what I was trying to achieve. I was either talked into, hey, let's keep going down this, let's keep putting on some size, and then we'll worry about cutting. Well, then you don't get to the cutting and, you know, other things. And it's like, now I'm getting bigger shoulders, my arms are getting bigger, my chest is getting bigger, but I'm not cutting up. Like, I'm doing the reverse American thing. I don't want the American football player body. I want to have the soccer body. You know, I want to trim down. So I think it's important to find a trainer that works with you and can recognize those things and then help you with the challenges of your lifestyle, which is, I think, where you and your program come in very, very handy, especially for someone like me and a lot of the others that are listening. I know a lot of people are really anxious to see this show. And we'll talk about it some. I mean, I know you're not going to like sit here and give away all your secrets to the deal, but we'll dive into this a little bit, because I think one of the biggest things you do, and that I caught from talking to you so much, was that you really tailor the program for all those exceptions, all those things that come up, all those things you have to deal with, and the prepping. Prepping for putting on weight or taking off weight sucks, period. And you've got to have a routine. And there's a lot of programs that really work to help you with that nowadays. And if you have the right amount of money and stuff like that, can cheat and do all that stuff, and life's real easy. But I think where you also help people is educating people on portions and all these other things, like, because you can't outwork a shitty diet. Like, you've got to have a good diet.
100%. So let's jump into that. And before we get into this, there's a very small piece of context that we need. So back when we were talking about my kind of story, we finished when I was an in-person personal trainer exclusively. COVID then happened, and in-person personal training was a terrible place to be
I'm sure.
during COVID. It was not... Yeah, it was rough for many reasons. And at that point, that's when online training really became a thing. Everyone who was into training people in person, they were like, well, shoot, how do we do something online? And that's when Whiskey Weight Loss as a company was born. Because it was, how can I take all of this really cool stuff that I've been doing with in-person clients, let's transition that into an online model, and then I need an audience. And I was like, who can I help that isn't currently being helped in the wider world, right? I could try and help immigrants. That's one market that I can speak to. I'm like, that doesn't really sound that appealing. And then I really fell into the whiskey rabbit hole during COVID, and I was like, you know who isn't being helped right now with their health and fitness? Whiskey drinkers. And I'm still convinced I'm the only person on earth that currently helps whiskey drinkers lose weight, at least one with any kind of branding. But that was it. Whiskey Weight Loss was born, and the whole premise of online training is that you don't pay someone to help you work out. That person, or me as a coach, I provide structure for everything. And I think one of the most well-known facts, but the least implemented facts when it comes to losing weight, is most weight loss happens outside the gym. And I think we intuitively know that, we just don't want to accept it. Because people want to, I started working out 5 times a week, but I get McDonald's on the way home. Or, I
think it can even be that people don't have enough food and nutrition knowledge.
100% agree.
And workarounds for the busy lifestyle, the I'm on the go, all these fast food options, even what to order when you have that option as an option.
What to do at a restaurant. You sit there, open the menu. Most people have no idea what these different things look like in terms of how it affects their health and weight loss. Kids, I've worked with a bunch of dads who have kids in sports. Right? They don't stop. They finish work and then they go home and then it's baseball practice and then dance practice and then all of these things. Like, they can't do a normal lifestyle. They've got to be able to make decisions on the fly. Like, one of my favorite conversations with clients is how to go through the Chick-fil-A drive-thru and not screw up your weight loss, because it blows their mind when we go through it. And you said, like, I don't want to divulge my secrets. I don't care. I'll tell you guys everything you need to know, because knowledge is definitely part of the equation, but knowing how to implement that knowledge is the hard bit. And that's something that you can only do working with a coach.
Oh, well, hold on. In that case, my chubby ass needs to be butt naked on the beach by May. I have a trip in May. Can you help me out? I'm just saying.
Nobody wants to see you butt naked on a beach, so
Okay,
I'm
with a pair
gonna
of
stop
shorts.
this right now.
Shorts. What's going to be a place where they do that? It's European beach type stuff. I mean,
Okay.
I'm just saying if it happens, it's going to get dark outside.
You know, all the
when I
naked
get out
beaches
there.
is
Anyway.
just old people, right? There's no one young
He
and
is
attractive.
kind of old compared to us, so I mean, it kind of works for him. Alex.
AARP. I'm just saying. But yeah, so shirtless and not ashamed by May.
Got it.
You have a lot more time than me. I'm going to Hawaii at the end of this month, and I'm dreading it because my little brother is like, Alex, Mr. Health, Mr. Fitness, my diet's
That's
so good.
that life he lives. So
Oh,
we got to
man.
change our mindset.
Yeah, we do. And I think what he just said is very important for people to realize. Like, he can sit here and tell you all this stuff, but and I think that's kind of what you were getting at before I dove off too, telling my story about it and tying that in. I think finding a person that you can relate to that is motivational to you, inspiring, but also a good coach that you want to be accountable with and
That's
that
huge.
helps hold you accountable is huge. Because that's one of my biggest things. If I make that 5 a.m. club, you know, and I have somebody there, and I have a workout partner, and him and I are going to the gym and working out together, and I know he's counting on me to be there, and I'm counting on him to be there, that's a lot easier to stay committed to. Because it's accountability, and you don't want to let the other person down. So whether it's letting your wallet down because you paid for this stuff, but as I've learned too, you can even find excuses for that. I mean, even when you're paying for something, I mean, I paid a lot of money to do this diet that I did for a while, and it worked for a while. Like I said, I mean, I lost probably 20 pounds, but then I hit that wall, and I wasn't getting anywhere. I mean, it was 20 pounds that I for sure needed to lose, but then really diving down and tweaking and fixing those other things, their diet was so limiting, and that was the other thing. They didn't really want me working out. They just wanted me walking. You know, because they had you so calorie restricted that life was miserable. I mean, like, they told me, you don't need to be drinking your whiskey. If you're going to have a glass once a week, I was like, I entertain clients all the time. I can't. There's no way I can do this. I mean, I can drink and eat a glass of bourbon, but you're not helping me with anything else past that. And, like, you got me, like, then your energy starts dipping and stuff like that. And then with my go lifestyle, being that calorie restricted, yeah, it was great for the first 2 weeks. But after that, that is hard as hell to maintain and manage.
100%. So you have just described all of the pros and cons, emphasis on like the long-term cons of the traditional commercialized dieting plans that you see all across America on radios, on TV shows,
Instagram with the click.
Instagram, all of that stuff. And what they do is they put you on a really restrictive diet and you lose weight quickly. Because going on a restrictive diet, it works. You lose weight. You know this. You experienced it.
I was eating like 1,000 calories a day. They made like 1,200 calories at 235 pounds.
Yeah, you lose weight so quickly on that. But the issue of that is it's temporary. It's designed to be temporary because if they sold you the long-term secret to losing weight and keeping it off, you wouldn't need them. Yeah. And when you purely operate a weight loss business with profit as the only end game, it doesn't make sense to teach people to be self-sufficient. It just doesn't.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Am I wrong in thinking putting a hard date on it? So can you really say, I want this by this time, and that's the healthy way to think about it? Or is it more of change your mindset it's a marathon, not a sprint?
So that's a fantastic question, Busy. And what I would say is there is nothing wrong with having a time date goal, but understand that is a part of a longer journey, and you don't just stop once that date hits. It has to be a milestone in a longer journey, and the only people that lose weight and keep it off are the people that undergo a complete identity shift. And I'm gonna say that again because of how damn important it is. The only people that lose weight and keep it off are the ones that undergo a complete identity shift. They aren't people that diet and work out. They are people that prioritize their nutrition, and they are people that look forward to exercising. Exercising is part of their day. They don't just do it to lose weight. They don't always do it to enjoy it. I've had plenty of workouts that I've not particularly enjoyed, but I do it because it's part of my character now. I know that if I don't work out, I'm going to be a grumpy son of a bitch. I just know that.
Yeah.
So until you have made that shift, the weight will always come back on. Eventually. It can take 3 weeks, it can take 3 months, it can take 3 years, it can take 3 decades. But until you make that long-term shift, it will always come back. And there are a few people that can make their shift on their own, but most of the time you need a coach to help you with that.
And I'll say this for those of you that listen that are curious. He's not the cheapest and he's not the most expensive either. So when you start looking at his program, and we talk about this and get into this a little more, we literally, you and I had very candid conversations before there was even the podcast.
100%.
And we were just talking about my weight loss journey. And you were very supportive. You're very helpful. You even said, hey, I really want to know about this program because there are people that are choosing this over my program.
Yep.
And there are other things that I don't know. Anything you're willing to share, tell me about. I really would like to know so that I can, learn for my business as well. And you and I had those conversations, and it was halfway through it, I was like, man, I really screwed up. This worked, and I thought it was easy because they gave me all these meals and snacks and things to do all this. And honestly, at the time, I couldn't get past in my head because I was still trying to work myself back into the gym and going. I couldn't get past the part of wait a minute, so we're going to do all this, and I'm going to pay you this, and you're not giving me the food, and you're just giving me tools, and you're just giving me coaching, and it's group coaching. The group part really threw me for a while there because I'd had some bad group coaching experiences where, that's great. You get one periodic little real good conversation here and there and some check-ins, but then you're just giving them a check and they're maintaining their group, which, not accusing you of that was just a bad experience I had. So when it was kind of wait, we're not going to work out together? You're not going to actually train me? Oh yeah, I'm going to help you with a few here and there. We're going to have these classes and stuff like that. But I could not get past that mental hurdle until I experienced the other part. And then it was okay, dumbass, you've done this before. What he said did make sense. You were just hung up on old stuff that was bad experiences. And you were still in the stage of finding excuses and trying to find a quicker, easy way that fit the way you thought it should work. Yep. And if I was doing what I thought should work and it was actually working, I wouldn't be calling you in the first place. So getting past that mental hurdle, I'm sure that's something you have to talk about in your consultations and really work through. And I know we did a lot of that too. And it's just one of those things that I wasn't completely forward with a lot of things. And it was just kind of I had goals. I had just gone through a big health scare, and a lot of people know here, my dad died when I was really, I was 24. He was 56, had major heart issues and stuff like that. Had his first heart attack when I was 14. So, I had a big scare that luckily was not my heart, but it made me think it was. And then I got clean bill of health. And then I had another scare, a year later, where I did have blood pressure issues and all this stuff that really sent me through the roof. And then I was man, I don't even know what to do now. So everybody can relate to that. Everybody has those different things to work through.
So my question is, the name of your company, is that something you just like? You love whiskey and you just named it that? Or does it have something to do with the program?
So this is a great question that I get a lot. But you're crushing it with the questions today, man. Like, you're killing it.
Hey, working.
He's got to make up for having us late.
Weights is my thing. So, yeah, I need to do this the right way.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so whiskey weight loss. Are we taking shots and working out? No. That is what I know.
Well, good night, ladies and gentlemen. It's been fun. We're gonna. No, I'm joking.
When Alex refines his program, we'll bring him back at another date and time.
So yeah, we're not taking shots and working out. The whiskey does have something to do with it, but it's not in the way that you think. The way that whiskey and weight loss goes together is a little bit convoluted. Most people, when they lose weight, they take alcohol out of their diet, just like you did, Garrett, when you did that previous diet. They were like, don't do alcohol. And honestly, it makes a lot of sense. Alcohol does not help you lose weight. It's quite frankly, if you want to tank a weight loss effort, drink a bunch of alcohol. Fastest way to do it. But we go back to the lifestyle thing. Me, you, like, we all drink whiskey for fun. It forms a massive part of our business, of our social lives. It is like, it's part of our identity, right? So how do we create weight loss while keeping whiskey part of our identity? And that is where whiskey weight loss comes in. My whole philosophy is that if we can optimize 90% of what we do, our diet, our mindset, our exercise, we can have fun with the 10%. For us three, that 10% might be whiskey. For our wives, it might be wine or chocolate. For the craft beer drinkers, it might be beer, right? And that 90-10% plays a huge role in long-term success. You told me after a couple weeks that previous diet sucked because it was all work and no play. Yeah. And you need an element of balance if you're going to make it long-term. Now, the other part of it, which is a little deeper, a little more hidden, is that for weight loss to fit your lifestyle, your coach has to have a really deep understanding of your lifestyle, right? How many fitness professionals do you know that also drink whiskey? Not that many of them, right? So when you say, hey, I've got a bottle share this weekend, like, coach, what do I do? They go, the fuck's a bottle share?
Yeah.
Or they say, or you go to them and say, hey, I'm going to go chill out at the Specs in Dallas for 2 nights because they're dropping a Weller Foolproof and I'm trying to get myself a purple top Willet. And they're like, could you explain that in English?
Yeah.
Right? They have no idea. If you live a lifestyle and you want your weight loss to mesh with that lifestyle, your coach has to understand your lifestyle. So the kind of unique value that whiskey weight loss brings is you have someone, me, that understands your lifestyle and what the lifestyle is that you are trying to live.
So would you say your client list is made mostly of whiskey drinkers?
Exclusively. Exclusively. Now, I still
qualify them before they work with you based on knowing the lifestyle, and that's how you pick your clients.
Yes. So I am pretty picky when it comes to the people that I work with. This is not a service where you go to a web page, click a button that says buy now. It is a very collaborative, very consultative process. And what Garrett was saying earlier about when we first had our kind of conversation, even if you had said, hey, Alex, I'm going to go with you as opposed to this other thing, I honestly don't know if I would have taken you on as a client. Because during that sales process, there are red flags that pop up from the client side.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know my philosophy, and when people are ready to hear and implement my philosophy, it works, and it works really, really well. But if you're not ready to receive it, I don't want your money. Because I like to run business ethically. That's a big part of kind of my character.
He's not lying, folks. He literally told me, I think he politely said, because he could tell I was totally on the fence. I think it was something along the lines of like, okay, well, this class just filled up. The next one will probably start in about 3 months. Let's continue to have these conversations and see where you go on this journey.
100%. Because I tell everyone in my sales process, this is a 50-50 relationship. Like, my 50% is telling you what, when, how, why, and to hold your hand or give you a kick up the ass throughout the length of the program. Your 50% is to do and implement. And people don't do and implement what they aren't bought in on. Yeah. And if I don't have your buy-in, I can't help you. Because I like to tell Doesn't matter how much of your money I have, I can't help you if you don't want to do the work. You said about having you had a 5 a.m. buddy, and like you had a great relationship, right? You were bought into what he was doing. You wouldn't turn up if you didn't. Yeah. That has to be in place if it's going to be successful. And the longer, like I've been personal training for 6-7 years at this point. Whiskey Weight Loss is only about 15 months old. It's not an old business. And when I first started, like with any business, you scratch and claw for what you can. And I probably took on some clients that I shouldn't have. And I learned from that. So now I'm really selective about who I work with. And therefore my, success rate with clients is way higher than it used to be. I won't bullshit you guys and tell you that, everyone achieves all of their goals. They don't. Life happens. But I will tell you the vast majority of them do, and the vast majority of people leave the program in a considerably better place than when they entered.
So is it limited to whiskey or is it spirits?
Right now, it's limited to whiskey. And I'm going to touch on a point that Garrett brought up earlier about group coaching. Group coaching actually turned him off, which is really funny because I used to do this as a purely one-to-one coaching experience. Yeah. And I get better results doing half one-to-one, half group. Because the camaraderie you build with your cohort, so I run my business in a cohort model, kind of like how Garrett alluded to. Like right now, I've got 10 people going through the whiskey weight loss process together. Their start date is the same, their finish date is the same. And we communicate throughout that. And guess what, brings people together? Hey, I'm drinking, Weller 12 tonight. What are you drinking? And now, it builds that.
Would you say that
whiskey
also
and cigars still bringing people together, like even in weight loss journeys?
Now, will that also account for accountability with their progress through the course? Each other, either like I used to go work out with my boys, and this week I'm going to outbench you by 30 pounds, or I'm going to run farther than you, and there's a bit of accountability. So, do you see that naturally happening when you train a group?
Yeah, 100%. And people, they're accountable to me as a coach. And they're accountable to the others in the group. And when we do group check-ins, it's there. You have something to show up for. But what I think is really cool about this, weight loss business model effectively is that everyone goes and does the work on their own, right? When you don't have someone else to meet you there at 5 a.m., you don't want to go because it's built into a habit that the only time you work out at 5 a.m. is when you have someone else.
Yeah.
The way I coach people is you go and do the work on your own. You're probably going to work out on your own if you're on my program because you are building that skill. You are building that habit. You don't need someone else as a crutch. What you need is someone to give you that kickstart to start that habit. All right? So you have accountability from a results point of view and an adherence point of view, but you're doing the work on your own. You're building that skill of being able to do it on your own. And once you've been doing it for 6 months, it's kind of habit at that point. You start that identity transition towards someone who just does this because it's part of who they are.
So what would you say your success rate is? What is your self-analytic for success? If you would look at the program you've evolved, created, highs and lows, and now that you look at where you are from where you started, what would you say? I don't know what you consider a success with somebody. If they reach their goals that they've set at the beginning of the program, what would you say your success rate is?
So, great question. And you can talk about it in terms of like how many home runs you've hit or like how many times you hit a single. Right. So the funniest story I have is when I first launched this business, I ran some Facebook ads to get some clients. And I had 5 guys sign up. I charged, I think, like $250 for a 12-week program. At that point, I was effectively giving it away. I'm not that price right now. But 3 of those guys never turned up. They gave me money and then just never turned up. The 4th guy tried it for like 3 weeks and then gave up. And the 5th guy lost. It was a 12-week program at that point in time. It's now an 8-week program. He lost 24 pounds in 12 weeks. And then over the rest of that year, over the next, I think, 10 months, he continued to lose a total of 80 pounds. So that was I hit a home run like in my first cohort, but my baseball terminology sucks being from England. But like the number of times I hit the ball in the field was terrible. It was like 20%.
Well, that's like a regular gym. Think about it. People, that's how a gym survives, on the people that do not show up.
100%. 100%. They got so much gas money right now.
Yeah.
Right. If you notice gym membership fees and they figured it out, if I only charge you $10, it's not going to hurt you not to show up, but I'm going to get you $10 no matter what. And it's just something you don't even think about.
Yep.
So maybe 45% of the clientele aren't even showing up.
Dude, it's about 95%.
Wow.
Yep.
I'm getting my $10. I'm sorry. I'm going up in there and I'm getting it. But so we talked all this fitness stuff. My curiosity is, what the hell do you do when you're not drinking whiskey and you're not working out?
I'll be honest, when having a business this young, it is kind of all consuming. So especially like in the first year of business, if I wasn't hanging out with friends, I was working on my business. Like my personal fitness suffered too. Like the only reason I was able to kind of stay in shape, air quotes, was my nutrition. Bragging a little bit, I have such an in-depth understanding of nutrition that like I can not work out for 2 weeks and it doesn't really affect my body composition that much. Was I moving backwards in terms of health? Absolutely. In both physical health and mental health. And like I said, we'd talk about this earlier in the podcast, but like that put a ton of stress on my marriage and my relationship because like I couldn't turn it off. It was like I would be at dinner with my wife and I'm thinking, if I'd have done that differently, they may have done that better. And I would pull out my phone in the middle of dinner and start making notes on my business plan.
Don't do that.
Yeah. Busy and I had a brief conversation about marriage earlier.
Yeah, I'm here. I got you. Don't worry about it. We're going to have a marriage counseling episode here soon. Don't do that.
No, so like I've changed. My wife will attest to this, and like it's got a lot better. And some of that comes with success, right? You start having some success, you can start to ease off the gas. But like. Yeah, but between anyone who's thinking about starting a business and it being successful, understand just how much work it is, and no one really talks about how much work it is. All of the time that's just spent spinning wheels until you finally find
just
traction.
Coming up with an idea and then researching the idea to know if it's even going to work, or to learn about something just because somebody tells you. Like, I mean, we've experienced that with this podcast. I mean, I took 2 weeks off at the end of the year. But there was work in all of that. I mean, in doing that and trying to figure out, all right, what were we doing right? What were we doing wrong? What do we have to go back and fix that like didn't work, or we thought we knew what we were doing here, didn't really know? Like social media, everybody thinks they have social media to figure out. Until you do a business that relies heavily on social media and you realize you thought you knew this much about it and you realize you knew this much about it. Yep. And you start having to research, and you have to have conversations with people and be taught and learn about all these other things. You know, I used to think hashtags were just like, what are these ridiculous hashtags? You know, like, and even hashtags are getting out of date now. Yep. And you know, just all these things you have to do. It's crazy. But let's before we jump any further or anything, let's talk about how do you approach making it feasible for someone to enjoy whiskey while they're on your program? Yeah,
absolutely. So we'll get into some of the science. This is where I give away my secrets that aren't really secrets. So weight loss is, at the end of the day, weight loss is a numbers game. Right. So it's energy balance, it's calories in, calories out. Everyone kind of, I think, knows this at this point. That is not a secret. Right. What most people don't know or understand is the nuance that goes into that. Right. So one of the big things I'm an advocate of in my program is making room for the things you enjoy. So if you know you are going to have, a couple of ounces of barrel-proof whiskey at the end of the day, you understand how many calories that is, and you make room earlier in your day for that. If that is going to be an everyday thing, great. You have to adopt the habits of making room earlier in your day to allow that to happen. If it's an occasion thing, like if you're going for drinks with a group of guys and it's going to be 5 or 6 drinks, then maybe that prep work is the day of and the day before, right? And you do this work ahead of time so that you can basically enjoy your beverages guilt-free.
Versus a lot of people that will tell you too, like, okay, I just did this, now I got my effort. So instead of running 2 miles today, I've got to run 4 miles, which if you're not running 4 miles every day, you're still going to run 2 miles. So then you end up in that deficit game.
And it's like preparation is always better than trying to fix it after the fact. And being understanding of that and cognizant of it. And part of my program is teaching people how to reduce their calories in a way that doesn't suck. You've experienced this, right? Drop to 1,000 calories, losing weight super quick. God damn, this is horrible.
Yeah.
Hungry all the time, no energy. They won't even let me work out because it would be too demanding. Yeah. My job as a coach is to teach you the nuance that, like, hey, we can do this in a way that doesn't completely suck.
Yeah.
I was doing a nutrition consult with someone literally today, and it was funny. They went through the Chick-fil-A drive-thru, and they got a salad and a small fries, right? And they were like, I got the salad, but I really wanted something salty, so I had fries. And I pulled up the Chick-fil-A website, screen shared it, and I was like, let's just go look at those calories real quick. The salad that they had chosen was 690 calories. And then their small waffle fries, I don't even know if they dipped it in anything, was like 320. They spent 1,000 calories on a mediocre salad and small fries. And then I went through and I said, hey, like, are you a fussy eater much? And they were like, no. And I was like, okay, how do you feel about a grilled chicken sandwich and 12 grilled chicken nuggets? And they were like, that sounds great. And I was like, you can have those, right? Swap out your salad and French fries for a grilled sandwich and chicken nuggets, and you can do that for like 650 calories. And guess which one makes you more full?
Yeah.
Yeah, sandwich and nuggets.
Yeah,
guess which one's more enjoyable?
Yeah.
Sandwich and nuggets. Guess which one has more protein, therefore helping you recover from your gym sessions better? Sandwich and nuggets. Like, but no one would think that. Right. So it's like that's the nuance, that's the experience, that's the coaching that you pick up on after doing this for a long time. It's like, okay, I'm not saying don't go through the Chick-fil-A drive-thru. I'm saying be really smart about what you do when you order.
Yeah, when you go through that drive-thru, know what you're getting yourself into.
Exactly. And then if you're going to have, a couple ounces of high-proof whiskey later, all right, we either shrink that 600 calories down to 400 or we find it somewhere else in the day.
So I don't know this. I'm going to ask you this. You keep saying high-proof whiskey. So does high-proof whiskey have less calories, or is it better than a low-proof whiskey?
No, more calories.
Okay.
So we think about what whiskey is. It is alcohol, and it's water, and then it goes into a barrel and it gets flavored. Mm-hmm. Right? Alcohol has calories in it. Water does not. So when you pour something, the more of that pour is alcohol, the higher calories you are going to have.
Okay.
So if we take, and I'm going to do my best to get the numbers right here. If you take 1.5 ounces of 80 proof whiskey, I think it's about 100 calories.
Okay.
1.5 ounces of 120 proof whiskey, close, barrel proof or close, is 150 calories.
Okay.
All right? 80 proof to 120 proof. It's 1.5 times. Therefore, it makes sense the calories are 1.5 times. Now, if it's one drink, probably not a big deal. If you're having 5, all of a sudden that adds up.
Yeah.
A little bit. And then you're also managing, okay, right, alcohol dehydrates you. So if you're having higher proof whiskey, you have to manage your hydration better. Because I don't know about you if you've ever, woken up from a reasonably heavy drinking session the night before. I've never woken up and think, I really want to work out right now. No. It never happened. No. And I would bet a good amount of money that there are very few people in the world that go, I'm going to go work out after drinking half a bottle of whiskey.
Hanging out with Garrett, I'm averaging about 750 calories every other Tuesday.
See how
so, yeah, I'm just saying, if it's 100 calories a glass, yeah.
Hey, I had you at your peak optimum during the meeting. Then you chose to go to the chicken place, and I guarantee that was 1,500 calories. So I mean, I had you in a good place.
It was grilled. It was a grilled chicken wrap. But my Achilles heel is the spot down the street, Slim Chickens. They make the world's best fried okra. And yeah, that's my. I mean, that's not a bad kryptonite to have. It's not good.
As fried things go, you could do worse.
Yeah, and I don't eat. Believe it or not, I hate fried foods. Number one, growing up in my house, and you would think, oh, in a African American house, and your grandma's from the South. My grandmother really didn't fry anything. If we had fried anything, it was Kentucky Fried or a catfish place, but she baked chicken. She made meatloaf. So I'm not a real big fried food lover. And when you fry food in the house, your whole house smells like
it's
it.
bad.
Your clothes, your furniture. So now I am a fan of the air fryer.
Dude, you and me both.
Olive
air
oil
fryer is
go
fantastic.
for it. Yes, but even that will smell your house.
I gotta
up
learn
too.
how to work that thing, man.
I will
Mine is
come by-
like
So when we have our
reprogramming a damn computer to work that thing. I hate
No.
that thing.
When we
I
have-
want my toaster oven back that burnt the hell up.
No.
And instead, the wife was like, "Oh, well, we've been over to some friend's house. They did all these things, and they love it. So I bought the air fryer that does everything." Man,
That was a mistake.
thing's like. That reminds me of like listening to my dad telling my mom he can't program the VCR to record a show, man. I can't get that damn thing to toast.
When we have our pool tournament at your house, I'm saying it out loud, I
just
will
putting me
come
on the
over
spot again here.
and we will air fry at your house. And when I leave, trust me, you will cook an enormous amount of food in that thing.
Dude, you want a tip when it comes to fried chicken?
Please.
Marinate it in pickle juice. I don't know if you've ever done that before, but if
Never.
That's Chick-fil-A secret.
Yes, it is. If you want
Serious?
Chick-fil-A chicken at home, marinate it in pickle juice.
Another show note.
Yep, and then you can batter it up and then throw it in the air fryer, and you'll have like healthy Chick-fil-A.
Marinate in pickle. I'm taking show notes over here all night.
absolutely.
And it's like, wow.
So that's a reel. You can put that on a reel. There, right there. So I'm gonna ask this, and I know why you chose whiskey, because I mean that's obviously how we met too. Was in the whiskey groups. And I have lunch with several of your clients on a weekly basis. So I've seen the transformations. They're real. These guys still go out and do these things. It's not bullshit. Like, it works. It's, they've got it down. These guys, like James Adams.
Dude's a rock star.
I want to give the dude a big shout out personally. He's a good friend, and man, like,
he crushed
that
it.
dude crushes it. And he's been on it for a while. I mean, he's probably been with you like what, 6-8 months, maybe a year.
It's probably been 8-9 months, and I think James has lost 60, 70 pounds.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's 50 plus for sure.
Yeah,
He couldn't go out to be Santa Claus this year. Like, he had to give that gig up. And,
Yep.
He's in a different boat now. But interesting, and I'm curious to see what you think about this. Is like everybody asks, like when I first posted about this, I got a lot of questions, and I was like, well, you're gonna tune in and watch this. People were asking about the alcohol, like especially bourbon, whiskey, converting to sugar, and how your body converts that and stuff, and how you make that work. You've already talked about it from a calorie standpoint, and I would like to know what your thoughts are on this. So one of the trainers, when I was that 125-pound kid, and I'm like, I broke 120, and now I'm pushing for like 145 was my goal, right? This guy has me drinking shakes and everything else, and he's a professional bodybuilder. Owned the gym, everything. I worked out with him in the mornings, and this is my early 20s. And his drink, when he was getting ready to compete, the only thing he would drink, and this sounds terrible, and I promise it actually doesn't taste bad. Like, I was really surprised. His drink of choice, when he knew he was going to go drink and have edge, he would only dip. He had dip, and he would dip, but his drink of choice was tequila and Diet Dr. Pepper. And he was like, it is the fastest to convert to sugar and get out of your system or something like that. And I was just like, this sounds like you had me until the Diet Dr. Pepper. Like, because everybody knows, like, you might as well just have the regular soda versus a diet soda. But he very specifically chose Diet Dr. Pepper and tequila.
So I'm going to blow two things up for you and completely annihilate them. And I mean that as the nicest way possible.
That's not my theory, so you're not blowing me up here.
Alcohol doesn't convert to sugar. Physiologically, it doesn't. Alcohol has its own processing mechanism in the body. The body treats alcohol as a toxin, which it is. It has its own mechanism for getting rid of it. It uses a molecule called alcohol dehydrogenase. It does not convert to glucose in the same way that many other foods do.
Okay.
Right? So, first of all, that doesn't happen. The reason people associate alcohol with sugar is that most of the time, alcohol comes packaged with sugar. Vodka and orange juice, whiskey and Coke, margaritas, any of the like liqueurs that are, they're like 20, 40 proof or whatever, and they're just a sugar bomb. Whiskey's great because whiskey doesn't have any sugar in it, and it doesn't convert to sugar either. The other thing you said, which was you may as well have a regular soda as opposed to a diet soda, I don't buy into that at all.
Okay.
Reason being is that just because your body tastes sweet, that doesn't necessarily make you like want more of it. And there was a theory a while back that's like, well, if you have a diet drink, your body is expecting a sugary drink, and then it makes you hungry, and it's like it doesn't bear out. A lot of these things you hear about in fitness and nutrition, like they sound like they make sense, but then you test them scientifically, and they don't hold up. So if you're
being diabetic, type 2, but anyway, so I drink only diet soda. If I drink soda, I like Mountain Dew. I don't even drink Mountain Dew at all anymore, but I used to love Mountain Dew. And when I had to go to Diet Mountain Dew, and people says it tastes nasty, blah, blah, blah. But when I went and just sipped on a regular Mountain Dew, my whole brain almost exploded. I mean, but saying that, though, is there any research about aspartame? Because that's the common thing in sweeteners and diet. Have you heard, is that also that's what they say, it's just as bad as having a regular soda with the real sugar.
Right. So aspartame is not a particularly good for you chemical. Right. I wouldn't recommend taking it in crystallized form, but
so you don't go to GNC and supplement with that or anything?
Right. Yeah. We're not doing lines of that in the bathroom at the gym.
Well, isn't that what Splenda and all that is?
Yes.
I use Splenda.
Artificial sweeteners are mostly aspartame based. Stevia, the plant-based one, that does not contain aspartame, to my knowledge at least. But volume is everything, right? So if you have a Diet Coke every other day, 3 times a week or whatever, you are not getting anywhere near enough aspartame to cause any real negative health effects, at least to my knowledge and understanding, right? I'll always caveat that because there might be a study I haven't read. But the health benefits that you can potentially get from losing weight by reducing your calories, those are very tangible, right? So if you drink a Coke every day and you swap that for a Diet Coke, that's like 750 calories a week that you've just gotten rid of. Okay, do that for a month. That's £1 a month. You are losing because of that single swap. All right? £1 a month. 2 years' time, you've lost 24 pounds. The health benefits you can get from losing 24 pounds are huge. And I would wager they are above and beyond any negative effects you're going to see from a very small dose of aspartame across a few beverages a few times a week. And I think that gets lost. If you go on the internet, everything's going to kill you.
Yeah.
Right? Fish has mercury in it. I read something which is kind of nasty, but if your toothbrush is in the same room as your toilet, you have shit on your toothbrush. 100%. You're cleaning your teeth with shit. And it's we're going to ignore that, but we're going to focus on aspartame because aspartame in massive amounts might be correlated to cancer risk.
So what you're saying, we were just a whole bunch better when we were just in the dark before internet.
Yeah, honestly, I think
I have a really funny.
like.
I have a really funny book. I'm gonna let Alex borrow next time I see him, because I had to take this. So several years ago, we were cleaning out my grandmother's house in Oklahoma, moving her down here, and my grandmother buys everything off of TV, like books, especially books, CDs, DVD sets, all stuff. Like if there's a book that sells online or something like that, she buys it. Like I mean, a TV infomercial queen. And like a hoarder. I mean, this house was filled. And I went through all the books before we were moving them. So I was like, I have a pretty decent library. I like to read. I was going through that and trying to select books that I wanted to keep. Especially some of these like crazy like National Geographic hardback books that show all the national parks. Stuff like that. I was like, that's cool. Keep that. All these we'll take to, the donation center or whatever. Do that. In this journey, I found a diet book. It is called, and I'm not kidding you, it's a paperback book about that big. It's probably about that thick. The Ice Cream Diet.
Oh, God.
The Ice Cream Diet.
Yeah.
Eat ice cream and lose weight. I'll bet there, and I still haven't been able to crack. I keep it and I set it out just because it looks really funny. It's a bright pink book, like Pepto-Bismol color. And it looks funny. And I put it like right next to my like Arnold Schwarzenegger encyclopedia and all that stuff up there because it's just, to me, it's kind of comical.
Seems like the entire industry is just built off the magic pill.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Quick fix.
There's no work involved. Just sit here and do this thing as comfortable as you can get, and you'll get the body that you see everybody else has.
And you know what? It works because people are willing to pay $20 one time for the possibility that it might. Everyone knows rationally eating ice cream is not a good way to lose weight.
Yeah.
If you take a poll of 100 people and they say, is ice cream good for weight loss? 100 of them are gonna say no.
Yeah.
But someone wrote a book, and for $19.99, I can see if this might work for me. And everyone who buys that book, no one's doing the goddamn diet. But they want to throw money at something that might be the solution to all of their problems. And you see, like the supplement industry, there's something really interesting. If you combine every facet of the fitness industry other than supplements, we're talking gyms, online coaching, food service, like every part of the industry, it is like less than half of the supplement industry. The supplement industry is massive, because people want to throw a little bit of money at the possibility of a quick fix. And back to that point I was mentioning earlier, like you don't lose weight and keep it off until you go through an identity change. Like,
Yeah.
that's exactly it. People who spend lots of money on supplements without doing the other stuff, they aren't ready to go through that identity change yet.
So
Are there
do you
supplements
recommend
that you do take or
I
that
was
you
just
do
about to
recommend?
ask the same question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a few that I think have genuine benefit. Also, listeners, I don't want you to take this as if I take these supplements that Alex said, I'll lose weight. That's not what I'm saying. But
If you're in a program and you are doing the work and changing your identity,
yep.
besides just saying a multivitamin or whatever, what supplements do you take?
So it depends how you define it, but if you define protein powder as a supplement, I 100% believe in it, but I think of it more as
It's like a meal supplement, I think.
It's a
of
food
more.
group.
Yeah.
Honestly. Like, if you take, like, do you consider baby formula a supplement?
No.
No. Whey protein and baby formula, not that dissimilar. They're a powdered derivative from milk.
Yeah.
Right? So to me, protein powder is a food supplement, and whey protein is one of the most effective things when it comes to weight loss because it's highly beneficial for muscle building. Generally, muscle building is helpful for weight loss because it increases our metabolism, and it's very filling for the amount of calories that you spend on it.
Do you do casein at all for the long gestation, or you just stick with whey?
So, great question. Again, busy, but so casein is it slowly releases from your stomach into your system.
Correct.
Some people can use that at night as
That's
a way.
what I did. Okay.
I think you're probably splitting hairs. Like how much different it is. And this is funny because I actually did my undergraduate dissertation on this. You elicit a bigger muscle building response when the protein, the amino acids are just dumped into your bloodstream as opposed to drip feeding them. So there is actually a theory, and I don't know if anyone's tested it yet. They might, since I've looked at it. But there's actually a theory that says you should have whey protein before bed, not casein.
See, I did. I just got educated.
Yeah,
I did 2 ways during the day, and then I did my night one of casein at night.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying casein at night is bad. I'm just saying it is not a clear-cut, better alternative than whey. And if you want to just have 1 tub of protein instead of 2, you can use whey, and in my opinion, get as much of the benefit with a chance of actually more.
And the only reason I asked that because it's like going into the liquor store and you go to the wine section. There's 10,000 bottles of wine.
Yep. You
go to even Walmart. You can go to anywhere that offers protein powder, and there's 10,000 different proteins, all promising things. Well, and I think whey is the most effective.
He may agree or disagree with this. The thing I found most helpful with this, and this is just me from my journey, is I did a blood test before I started wearing out. When I was on that 2-year program, and I was very active and in the gym and working out hardcore, I did the blood test because then it tells you about your gut health and what your body is processing well and what it's not. So like whey protein was something that like my body was not processing well. So I had to get plant-based protein. It made a big difference for me. Whereas you're saying it's splitting hairs. I think one of the hashtags or air quotes on it is as long as you don't have a sensitivity to it. So if 100%. You do something like that, versus I would recommend to anybody, if you're really trying to figure those things out and find what your body is optimally going to produce or digest or process, do a simple blood test. It's like $100 or something like that. You go give blood, they send you the results. Like I found out that like, what was it? Chia seeds or what are those? Is that right? Chia, some of those, flax seeds, some of that stuff. My body wasn't processing well. So it was like, I was getting these shakes of that stuff. I wasn't doing myself any favors.
Yeah.
Not that it was like terribly bad or no, but if you're trying to optimize and make a decision like that, or you have diabetes or you have XYZ, I would find that information out because it was like, I'm not allergic to blueberries, love blueberries. Blueberries was something my body wasn't processing real well at that time when they evaluated my gut health through my blood and all that stuff. So cool. Is that something you recommend or ever have people do?
It is not something I have a whole lot of expertise in when it comes to gut health. What like circling back to like the plant protein, milk protein thing, when you break down the body's response to protein, animal protein is generally regarded as better than plant protein, not by a ton, but with the caveat of that, like, one of the recurring things about our conversation is it has to suit your lifestyle. Right. And if whey protein shakes give you stomach aches and gas bad enough to where your wife is considering a divorce, don't have whey protein. Have plant protein. And if plant protein doesn't give you gas and a potential divorce bill, then you can do that, and it's absolutely fine. And if both of those don't sit well, okay, that's fine. Then we lean into chicken, steak, there's lots of ways to do it. You don't have to use supplemental protein, but I would recommend that. But back onto the supplement question. So depending on whether we consider protein powder a supplement or not, one thing I would almost universally recommend is creatine. Okay, and creatine is something that has a weird reputation in America, I found, because it kind of came out and everyone got hung up on this water retention thing.
It's your baseball thing. It's your baseball knowledge. It's the baseball steroid stuff that started a lot of this. Same thing with Andro.
That makes a lot of sense.
Andro and creatine were being blamed for kidney failure, and the baseball players that were finally getting tested that weren't tested before were saying, "Oh, I was just taking creatine."
Okay, so
that's where a lot of that stigma comes in. For anybody that was working out or grew up in the 90s, that was the big thing. Androxy and creatine, and that was EAS was pushing a lot of that stuff and pushing creatine really hard. And you had people getting kidney stones and all that stuff because they weren't drinking enough water. A lot of other reasons why these things were good or bad, or wasn't the whole picture. That's where that comes in.
Got it. That makes a ton of sense. So creatine is one of the most studied substances when it comes to supplements. And its track record in terms of safety is fantastic. I'm not going to say there's never been an incidence of something happening after someone took creatine, but there's it's a multivariate equation, right? There's lots of things that can happen there. But generally, when it's been tested, creatine is remarkably safe. It does make you stronger. So the way creatine works is it allows your body to create or regenerate ATP. ATP is a fancy way of saying energy available to the muscle. All right. So it allows, like, if you're normally getting a set of 12 on bench press, if you start taking creatine, you might be able to hit 15 of that same weight, right? So you can get stronger, you can get faster. The water retention thing, a lot of people assume water retention to mean extracellular, i.e., I've got a belly because I'm bloated because I'm taking creatine. Creatine only promotes water retention inside the muscle cell, not outside of it. So really, creatine causing water retention is actually just going to make your biceps look bigger. It's water retention inside the cell, which can also then help muscle protein synthesis, which that's a lot of big words for an evening drinking whiskey. But creatine is generally considered helpful when it comes to strength building, muscle building, and performance. Another interesting thing about creatine, and this is not a fully explored area of science yet, it may have some protective effects when it comes to neurodegenerative diseases. Again, not fully studied yet, but when it comes to stuff like dementia prevention and things like that, there is some science that indicates creatine might be helpful. Not it's going to fix everything.
Not the cure-all.
It's not the cure-all, but it might help prevent some of that stuff.
And it's pretty easy to take because it's odorless, it's tasteless, it's, was it 5 grams a day? I mean, now they say you're supposed to have a load-in period.
You can if you want to, but you don't have to.
We don't have to go down a rabbit hole, just creatine, ladies and gentlemen.
Creatine is generally good for you. So actually, the best people to take it are old people. Because old people need to get stronger, they need more muscle mass, and they need to protect their brains. Yep. Honestly, if there's one demographic...
You could have just said biz. People that are business age.
Everybody says I do not look my age, so that's not that bad. But
we'll talk after the show. I want to learn how old you are. But
we'll have him guess before this is over.
Oh, God.
The beard gives it away, but...
I'm just trying to give him some trash because he's giving me trash all day. And it's been like 3 weeks since we've got to do this. I mean...
Exactly.
I mean, we get to air that out here, you know? You got to feel the love in the room.
What else? Fish oil, generally pretty good. There's a certain ratio of EPA and DHA that we're looking for. If you get a bunch of oily fish, you probably don't need to supplement it. Not many people eat enough oily fish. And then vitamin D is the other one. So
what about just vitamins and minerals in general? Do you subscribe to like a morning-night routine of vitamins, minerals? Do you think you get enough in your diet because of how you diet, or do you recommend your clients take a multivitamin and
we
mineral
don't go
supplement?
too much down the rabbit hole of supplements in my program because I'm a big believer in giving people enough to focus on without adding extra stuff. But if you generally don't eat very much fruit and vegetables, a multivitamin is not going to hurt.
Yeah.
Right? But vitamin D specifically, especially like we're in Texas, it gets really hot in Texas. When it's really hot, I don't want to be outside all that much. So we don't actually get enough sun. We have plenty of sun, but we don't absorb all that much of it through our skin. And then busy. I don't know if you knew this. If you have a darker skin tone, you're actually in a greater need of vitamin D, right? So darker skin slows down the absorption of sunlight into vitamin D.
Correct.
So actually African-American populations, they are more likely to need supplementation of vitamin D.
Because the melanin in our skin is more resilient to sun.
Correct.
So that makes sense.
So, there's some nuggets. Those are the 4 main ones, and you can throw multivitamins in there as well. But, I wouldn't go down the rabbit hole. Another one, branched-chain amino acids as a supplement. As long as you're getting enough protein, completely useless.
Very.
And on the label, it will often say, take BCAAs for energy. Converting amino acids to a fuel substrate that can be used for energy is a really complicated process that the body doesn't want to do. So, it's pointless. It's one of the biggest myths / marketing lies in the supplement industry. It's like branched chain amino acids don't help you with energy.
I'm gonna throw one out to you. This one I do take every day because of all of those supplements. Because if you think about it, including our alcohol, all these things still have to be filtered through our liver. So I do take milk thistle every day because they say milk thistle promotes healthy liver activity.
That is a great...
I don't know if you heard it, but research it.
I don't know. Put it this way. It probably doesn't hurt. I don't know for sure if it helps. But I'm going to default to one of my favorite things is that if you want to help your liver, lose weight. If you...
That's everything.
Pretty much. Like,
everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
And if you want to help your kidneys, lose weight. If you want to help your liver, lose weight. If you want to help your heart, lose weight. If you want to make your wife happier in bed, lose weight.
Yep.
Right? It's kind of, if it wasn't so damn difficult to do, it would be like the most prescribed thing in the world.
I compare weight to credit. It's the easiest thing to mess up, and it's the hardest thing to get back right.
Well, and every doctor tells you that too. Every time you go see your doctor for your yearly, he tells you, well, you could lose 20, 30 pounds. So, I mean, like, what you're saying is absolutely right. Like, he doesn't say, like, you should take more supplements. You should take more medicine. No, he tells you, you really want to do something good for yourself. You should lose some pounds. Like, period.
You know what demonstrates how hard it is to do, though? Those doctors are normally, like, 40 pounds overweight.
Yep.
Not mine, man. Well, mine just retired. That was a big ordeal when I went through my medical stuff. He retired during COVID because he got tired of dealing with all the bullshit.
It's very selfish of him.
And very. And this guy looked like he ran marathons and stuff. Like, I mean, just super slender, lean, definitely. You know, he tells me, like, you really should weigh about 165. And I'm like, bro, I haven't seen 165 since I was like 25.
But is that like based off of a chart? Because if you're muscular, which weighs more than fat, and you're whatever.
Busy, it's more dense than fat. A pound of muscle and a pound of fat weigh the same. They're just very different sizes.
So you really could be that weight, muscular, and be considered healthy. So I can't use that excuse.
No, you can't. It's like the old thing. It's like what weighs more, a ton of feathers or a ton of bricks?
Ouch.
Same thing, right? And you can get two. The best example I have of this is like if you go into gyms nowadays, you'll see like the gym girls that like are taking photos of Instagram and like hip thrusting like 500 pounds. Like a lot of those girls weigh like 165, like 175, and because they have muscle on them. Right? And that's now an in look, and that's a whole different topic of conversation.
You go to the gym now, all women work on ass and thighs. That's it. All the leg machines, all the squats, it's all the women, and they're killing it. Don't get me wrong. All the lunges and all that. I mean, no, I'm lying, because there are a lot of women that work everything, but the majority of them, squat racks, legs machines, they're right there.
And they can out squat a lot of the dudes in there.
Yeah, which is
awesome.
Yeah, and all of us dudes are standing around acting like we're waiting on the machine. We're not waiting on the machine. We're sitting there gawking like everybody else.
It is what it is. Dude, I haven't been a member of a commercial gym in a really long time. Like, I worked in a commercial gym for a while.
Have you seen a picture of his garage, though?
Dude, so my garage isn't a gym anymore.
You changed it now?
So
I remember seeing pictures and I was like, well, yeah, he doesn't go to a gym. He put the gym in his house.
When COVID hit, I quit my job at the Cowboys affiliated gym and I made a gym in my garage. At that point, I didn't have a whole lot of money, so one of my clients just lent me 15 grand and was like, go build a garage gym. Paid them back very quickly with interest. But yeah, dude, I had a dope garage gym. Like if you, I was like a kid in a candy store. Like someone gave me $15,000 and I was like, I'm going to make this awesome.
So what'd you do? Mess around, make some money and put a car in there?
Dude, first thing I did was drop like $7 grand on a cable machine. And then move like 2,000 pounds of rubber flooring in. It was awesome. I had so much fun.
So it's not a gym anymore.
No, I one of the cool things about being a personal trainer is you get to work with a lot of wealthy, connected people.
There you go.
And one of my clients who we're talking about old fit people. He's 90 and leg presses 300 pounds. But he knew someone who had a connection, who had a gym space that was literally being empty, and I was able to sublease that space. Now my garage is a full-blown man cave with a 70-inch TV, a whiskey bar, and a pool table. So like, I don't just park cars in my garage.
I told you you'd like his gym. That's the whiskey weight loss gym is Alex's garage now.
Yeah. We do push-ups in there sometimes.
Yeah, when you lose the game of pool, you gotta do push-ups.
Yeah.
Okay,
or take a shot, or do take a shot, do push-ups.
Of Malort, take a shot of Malort, or do push-ups.
That's punishment enough.
I'm doing push-ups.
That's punishment enough.
All right, so I'm not going to ask you this. I'm going to ask you, how many push-ups can you do right now? No, physically do. How many
without
push-ups?
stopping, like just
without stopping, straight through.
Oh man, I don't know. It's been so long since I've done it. I bet you I would peter out somewhere around after 20, 25.
No.
It's always been my biggest, hardest part to deal is upper body strength. I can run distance. I can do leg stuff. I can do tricep and shoulders really, really well, but
just can't push it.
Chest and the pushing.
That's my Achilles.
It's always been my biggest weakness.
When I was in the Army,
bench press, dude. When I was 2 years in, when I was telling you about that, when I was working out with my boy Naz, and happy birthday, by the way, if you're listening, Naz. It's his birthday today. When I was at my peak with Naz and really, really in good shape, I finally got to where I had a 45 on each side for bench press and a 25 on the side. I still could not put 2 plates on the side. And I'll tell you one of the most embarrassing moments, too, in the gym. So Naz is a big dude. I mean, he used to be an IFBB, pro.
Yep.
He's a big dude. And here's my trying to get in shape, scrawny ass at the time in there. And he tells me doing pull-ups at the end of the workout. Ooh. And I get up there and he's like, you gotta do X amount, man. And this was like not on the machine where it helps you. Like, 'cause I always had to have help, man. Like 210 pounds was not going up and down on that thing. Just wasn't for me. Yeah. And he goes over here and he's like, all right, you gotta give me 3 sets of 10 or 3 sets of 20 on here. And when I jumped up on there at the end of the workout, I think I got to 8 on the first set. And I was just hanging, and he came over and picked me up and was like, finishing it. And I was like, man, this is at 5 o'clock in the morning with all the hardcore badasses. And I'm like, I've never been more mortified or embarrassed in a gym in my life.
So as a personal trainer, they don't put it on your job description that sometimes you've just got to grab a sweaty dude's ass crack and lift. They don't put that in the job description. They never included that. I don't know why.
I can relate, though. When I was in the Army, literally every PT test, no less than 200 push-ups. Easy.
I mean, I
did the minimum on sit-ups, though. And minimum on sit-ups, that always sucked. And the 2-mile run, I always made it right up under the last part. But vanity muscles, I'm good on that all day.
Yeah.
But the ones that, like, for me, I need the chicken legs. I really need to work on that. But I hurt my back, like, 10 years ago doing bent over rows and sciatic nerve damage. It was bad. So that's the one thing I try to get back. But if you see generally people, and I guess, you could say somebody's working out all wrong. And I'm not talking about bad form. I'm not talking about ridiculousnesses. They're doing proper form. But what about the combination of exercises, or is it back and biceps day, legs day, ab day? Is there more of a split? I guess that's what we called it in weightlifting.
Yeah. Depends how many days you're working out per week. And it also depends on your lifestyle. So a lot of bodybuilders, college bros, meatheads, they have a lot of time to work out. And they might work out 6 times a week. And if you're working out 6 times a week, it probably does make sense to split it up. Whether it's chest and tris, back and bis, shoulders and legs, throw in a bit of core, split it up. If you're working out 4 times a week, you can probably split it upper lower, or you can do like 75% upper, 25% lower, but do that every workout.
So do you do a full body
I do
workout?
full body.
Okay, every workout.
Every workout.
You hit each muscle group.
Correct. And there's a few reasons for this. Some of it's logistics and some of it's scientific. Logistics-wise, right, you both strike me as busy people.
Very.
Right? So how often do you make it into the gym 6 times a week? I know Garrett's answer to this. Doesn't happen, right? So if you're splitting up your workouts to where you only hit muscle groups like once a week and you're doing it 6 times, if you miss one of your workouts, that muscle group might go unworked for 2 to 3 weeks, right? If you do chest day on Mondays and you only do chest on Mondays and then you miss Monday's workout, well then do you just not work chest that week? Whereas if you're doing whole body workouts and you're doing those 3 to 4, maybe even 5 times a week, right? If you miss Monday's workout, no big deal. Your chest gets hit on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. It's not getting, 5 chest exercises in a workout. It's 1 or maybe 2. But it just means that you don't ever understimulate a body part, all right? And that's the logistics side of it, which I think is huge. The older you get, the more logistics have to play a role in your health and fitness.
For sure.
On the physiology side of stuff, if you take the typical bodybuilder approach of like chest on Mondays, legs on Tuesdays, shoulders on Wednesdays, whatever, a muscle group can only be stimulated to grow for about 48 hours max. And the more trained you are, the longer you've been lifting, the shorter that window, right? So I work out my chest and I absolutely obliterate it. I'm talking bench press, flies at 3 different angles, right? I'm doing incline, flat, decline, bench press, and then flies, and then push-ups, and then I do some burnout machine press. My chest is destroyed. I wake up in the morning and I'm just like, oh my God, it feels like someone punched me in the tits. Right? And that's great. You have maximally stimulated your chest to grow. That lasts for 24 to 48 hours. And then you've got 5 days of no stimulation to your chest muscle. Right? Whereas if you do 1 to 2 exercises on your chest and you do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, your chest is now being stimulated to grow 6 days out of 7.
So your rest period is the rest of the day.
Correct.
Instead of everybody, you need 2 or 3
weeks. But you're not overexerting either. You're not just torching.
No, you're not trying to be Mr. Olympia. You're just so you do give your body your body. Well, we're talking about full body. You give your body the other 23 hours.
Correct.
To rest.
And when you're not obliterating a muscle group, that is normally enough. And I don't know about you guys, like when I was in college, I kind of got a kick out of like, it was kind of fun to be like, bro, my leg day was so hard, like I can't walk upstairs now, right? It was like bragging right. You get to being an adult, and that shit sucks, right? You got to carry a small child downstairs, and you're like, I'm worried I'm going to toss this child.
Yes.
Right? That is not a fun thing to live with. So what's the way around that while still getting the result you want? All right, do like squats one day, leg press the next day, leg curls the next day, single leg RDLs the next day, whatever it is. And that way you have no risk of throwing your child down the stairs without intending to.
I love that he put that. You listening to our parenting class then, when you said not intending to.
Dude, I just work with a lot of parents.
Oh, okay.
Another fun fact about me. So when I turned 4, my parents decided to have another kid. And it didn't make sense for my mom to go back to work. So she actually started a daycare from our house from when I was 4, and she still runs that business 20-something years later.
She loves
working with kids. And I just assimilate. We were not
you better get on that grandkid thing here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
we're
sure
not
they just came in town, so they've been beating you up.
But what's funny is my first adult job, or like pseudo-adult job, was working in a daycare cleaning one. My second adult job was looking after the kids. My third adult job, looking after kids at my college town. I did it for beer money. And then I was a camp counselor for 5 years. And then, so basically, like, I've grown up around kids a ton. I have no desire to work with them. And also, people must be like, oh, you must love kids. I'm like, yeah, when they're not mine.
Yeah.
They get to go home. They get to go where they
exactly.
came
I'm
from.
like, I know how much work they are, so like, I want kids. I just don't want them like now. Like, give me a few years. I got stuff to do, man.
Take your time. It's better. It's even like a relationship. Be established first.
Yeah.
Make sure you get it all out your system or where you kind of want to be. Then go.
I want to do some. I want to have certain financial stuff in set. There's some countries I want to go see. There's just certain.
It's a plan.
Yeah,
it's a plan.
Yeah, dude. I'm detail oriented.
right.
Hardcore.
Well, as chuffed as I am about this episode, I've been waiting to do that all day. Because that was my favorite little word I learned before I did the Myrtle Beach podcast.
Chubby buff.
Chuffed.
Chuffed. Satisfied. Happy.
Oh, I thought it meant. So when
It's
we say
wanker talk.
chuff means you're chubby buff. So
No,
you got your
chuff.
buff. No, chuffed.
It's
I've never
wanker
heard
talk.
that version.
We could use it as slang though. Chubby buffed.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at it.
Yeah, you could. Hey, that could be a shirt for your program.
Yeah,
like
100%.
I'm
It's
getting
already out there.
chuffed.
It's already out there. Just letting you know. That's where I
Yeah.
got it from. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in that club.
Biz can make that happen for you.
Yep.
Can't.
All right. Well, we're nearing the end of the show now, even though Biz ran us late, but
Right on time.
right on time. It started us late, but
Ladies and gentlemen, check the social media for this conversation.
yeah. Check on that later on. I'm a little disappointed in all you like steady listeners that didn't really give Biz the business. But anyways, Alex, so this is the time in the show where we kind of flip the script a little bit on you.
All right.
And we got a few things for you. But before we do that, I want to go ahead and, tell them where they can find Whiskey Weight Loss. Tell them where they can find you. Tell them where they can reach out to you, have a conversation, and see if they're a fit for your program.
Absolutely. Okay, so you can find Whiskey Weight Loss in two main places. One is just to go to whiskeyweightloss.com. You can see there's information about the program. There's ways to contact me. Alternatively, a lot of my content is delivered through Facebook. So if you go to facebook.com/whiskeyweightloss, or I'm almost certain my profile will be tagged somewhere in show notes or something along those lines. So you guys can find me there, reach out there. In terms of how I run my business, like I said, I run it in cohorts. So as of right now, I'm completely full for the January cohort. I've got a couple spaces for February. I run it in blocks of 10. So this is not a giant group program. You're not going to be going through it with 100 other people.
He's got one less if he lets me in his program in February. So I'm just letting y'all know that.
2.
So act real quick, and then we'll have another cohort in March. But it's an 8-week program. I really think it's fantastic. And like I said, I will let you know if you are not a fit. I'm not into the business of taking anyone's money who I don't think I can help. But I love what I do. If it feels like a fit, I would love to have you and find me in those two places.
All right. So here's what we do. And I hate you. I can't. There's so many of these questions I can't drop on you, but we're gonna do the most important one. So at the end of every episode, we ask our guests to give us their 2 cents. Okay. And when I say give us your 2 cents, it could be about what you do. It could be about something that you thought of during the show, you were inspired to say, something you've been wanting to say, haven't had the platform to say, whatever. I mean, this has gone in every direction you can imagine. So really, you just get to give your 2 cents about whatever you would like to give everybody your 2 cents about.
Cool. So this is something that's kind of left field. We haven't talked about it at all, and I actually thought about it on the drive up here. So I think so many people get caught up, especially guys, especially successful guys. We get so caught up in chasing the destination, we forget to enjoy the journey. And I think that's true of career stuff. Like we will sacrifice, it ties into health. We sacrifice our health so that we can reach a destination. And then when we reach our destination, whether it's retirement or selling a business or whatever, we then have to spend the next 10 years trying to figure out how to be healthy. And if you just take a slight step back and enjoy the process, understand that doing stuff for you, taking care of yourself, whether it's mentally, physically, doing what you need to do, talking to someone, talking to a friend, talking to a professional, a coach, I think that is so valuable. And I think by the time we learn that lesson naturally, it's often too late. So slow down, enjoy the process, surround yourself with good company, pour some expensive whiskey, and if you smoke, grab a cigar, and enjoy the moment.
That might be one of my favorite ones yet. Like, he totally listened to a couple podcasts. He knew that was coming. He was prepared for that.
I do my homework.
Biz has probably got a curveball for you over here. I mean, he's thrown you a couple.
I normally do, but he kind of got me on everything I had tonight.
I know.
He
Hit a home run there in his terms, like maybe even a grand slam with that one.
It just felt good to somebody else that can talk gym talk, I guess, with the supplements and everything else. So this week I am cool. I don't have one for you because you did such a great job of doing everything. You answered everything I had.
Dude, I appreciate it, man. I'll take it. I left him speechless.
Yeah. You did a great job, man.
And that don't happen often.
Yeah, Biz speechless. Whew. You get double awards for that one. All right, Alex. I truly appreciate you, my friend, coming on here and helping these people share some knowledge. You know, it's the start of the new year. See what we can do to make a difference in people's lives. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I'm sure he'll probably be back on at some point because I have a feeling I might go down this road with him if he accepts me this time. And we'll come back and share that journey and we'll talk about it some more. But until next time, hope you guys really enjoy it. Y'all look out for each other. Stay safe out there. And don't forget to turn in next week. I got a really banger one for you guys next week. We're going to have Rosewood Bourbon here. And we're going to have Van Blinkel on the show. We pulled this off. I can't wait for this guy's story to be told. I don't know him super well. I know a little bit about this story, and I'm telling you guys, you don't want to miss this. I mean, we're getting all this allocation and stuff dropped around right now, so everybody's chasing the pappy and all that. This dude hung the moon, a personal friend with Julian Van Winkle, got his own private barrel of Pappy for, I think it was his wedding. We'll let him tell the story, but y'all stay tuned for that one. You definitely don't want to miss that. And we'll see you next week. Peace.